5. Identification and utilization of inherent talents. When have-nots face problems, one hardly gets surprised, but one feels bewildered in finding people who are masters of large resources, yet they appear lost and confused because of ignorance of appropriate know-how for their fruitful utilization. Unfortunately, one often comes across such individuals and feels pity for their ignorance. There is a tale about some layman selling a piece of diamond inherited from his father ignorantly as a piece of glass, as a consequence of which he spends his entire life in poverty. An ignorant person always remains unaware of his full potential. It is said that the musk deer continues to wander here and there in search of the aroma which emanates from the musk located in its navel itself. There is another tale about a man dying with cold in the midst of heaps of dry grass, since it did not occur to him that he could produce heat by lighting it with the matchbox in his own pocket. Ignorant of the treasure buried in his own house, at times man spends his entire life in abject poverty. Such instances invoke a mixed response of amusement, bewilderment, and pity. Ignorance always brings unhappiness and misery. In unknown terrains, nomads often wander away from their destination during the night on losing sense of direction. In absence of knowledge of proper direction, people are known to have died in wilderness after getting lost, exhausting their potential of thinking in hurry and confusion. One often quotes example of herds of deers dying in deserts by endlessly running after mirage of water pools. There is a tale about a cub of a tiger who had somehow lost its way and joined a flock of sheep. It began to behave like a lamb, till it came to know its identity on rejoining the tigers. While asleep people have meaningless dreams, and under addiction of drug also man begins to think of things far from reality. Such instances show that inadequacy or lack of knowledge misleads a person and also brings him unhappiness and misery. One would not feel surprised in coming across some stray cases of ignorance, but it does appear shocking that every other man in this world spends not only a part but entire life in entanglements of incongruous ignorance and confusion. Each one of us is carrying one's own typical load of confusion, obstacles, problems, worries and life arrangements, always looking for someone to help in unloading them. Though at times some small help is obtained from some odd quarters, but who can undertake the responsibilities of someone else for long, and how much help one can extend to others? Such situations exist particularly because of complexities of personal problems of each individual, which do leave little scope or inclination for helping others. One hardly ever makes an attempt to look for one's own shortcomings. One of the most self-convincing delusions man has is in assessing the happiness and prosperity of one's neighbor, which appear more magnified in comparison to one's own. The grass on the other side of the fence always appears greener. A perfect, flawless person probably does not exist in this world. No one ever thinks of own shortcomings, since such an action tantamounts to losing face, apparent degradation in society, and casts a shadow on the self-professed omniscience. Hence, a simple formula for disowning the responsibilities for mismanagement is found in putting the blame on some other person. Since one cannot afford to face a confrontation with just anyone, a scapegoat is found in some innocent weak person who does not have any courage or competence to counter the charge. There are also many who continue to find abstract reasons for their failures, such as inauspicious periods of destiny, unfavorable circumstances, adverse planetary configurations, will of God, etc. Since such excuses are based on unilateral reasoning, which is not refutable by facts, the person looking for such excuses does not find it difficult to develop a firm conviction in his reasoning. In addition to one's general weakness of finding faults with others for own failures, people are also found suffering from another degrading tendency in which they find it difficult to carry out a self-appraisal. Most of us are firmly convinced about our limitations and do not think that much can be done to increase our competence. It is continually believed that in the past best of personal endeavor was made under the then existing circumstances and nothing better could have been done. Entangled in such rigmaroles, people lose all opportunities of self-appraisal, self-improvement, self-reformation and self-development. Finding no way out to redeem recurring failures, they become helplessly irritated, troubled, complaining, anxious and worried. It is quite easy to become mentally strained by harboring apprehensions. People are generally prone to this habit. The foregoing traits of human decadence have become so pervasive that they have assumed the dimensions of an epidemic. In the prevailing environment, an individual hardly gets an opportunity to appreciate that the powers within the inner self of man are so potent that if energized and activated from their state of dormancy, they are capable of converting a person of average capacity into a superman. There is no mysticism in this phenomena. Nor does it have elements which can be negated on logical considerations. On turning pages of ancient history or on a serious study of events of modern history, one would come across numerous examples testifying to unusual feats performed by such persons who meticulously charted the course of their progress with self-confidence and profound courage and created better and better opportunities for themselves successively. The ultimate level of achievement of these persons was so high and surprising that it appeared nothing short of a divine boon. On the other hand, there have also been many such instances in which, in spite of possessing limitless resources and unusual opportunities, men became victims of vices and day after day fell deeper and deeper into abyss of decadence, which could only be considered disgraceful and unfortunate phenomena. We know that our planet, which appears static, is continuously revolving around its axis like a top and at the same time moving fast in its orbit around the sun. The same holds true about a human being. Life is not static. It is full of possibilities of progress. The only obstacle in progress is one's state of mind, which because of ignorance lacks the wisdom of conviction in the above concept. Generally, man is so much obsessed with self-pity and helplessness that he begins to believe in what he considers his limitations, whereas lying dormant his inner self is an immense potential for excellence. Even if a rare individual makes a casual effort to extricate himself from the above mistaken concept, his attempts are nullified by the influence of the prevailing environment. A community of egoists, for instance, is able to establish its supremacy by downgrading the timid, since the former are more assertive. Their leadership and falsehood of competence is established, and men at large begin to believe that they are a non-entity in comparison to the former and, therefore, unable to shoulder big responsibilities. Considering oppression and adversities inevitable and unavoidable, they reconcile to the situation and on account of self-imposed contentment do not see any need for struggle or improvement for betterment. Such a situation leads to mental indolence, in which man does not make full use of even existing capabilities. Because of physical and mental inaction, when even existing talents are not made use of, the question of creating an environment for further progress does not arise. In absence of any enthusiasm for betterment or zest for life, wherefrom can one hope for any opportunity for progress? The power of money in this world is ubiquitous, and so is the glamour of resources and comforts which can be acquired by it. Things of beauty and attraction are also not uncommon feature. One frequently comes across successful artists, businessmen, and talented persons. But amongst all these we see very few who had enlightened the path of progress of mankind after overcoming hurdles by their courage and valor, who have lifted the downtrodden, gave support to the infirm, provided motivation to the energetic, and increased the efficiency of active persons by making them work faster. Everyone is capable of looking after one's own interest, commendable are those who also make many move forward on the path of progress. It is unfortunate that though each one of us has such a strong power hidden within us which is capable of motivating millions, we are unable to utilize it because of our ignorance of its very existence. Ignorance of self is the bane of man which one knowingly or unknowingly carries throughout life as an unwelcome burden. In other words, it is sheer absence of talent. Surprisingly, at times even the most robust wrestlers are found lacking self-confidence of their internal strength. One often comes across exhibitions of physical strength even by animals like lambs and deers locking horns, but these shows of strength and ego are not indicators of a being's real strength. One is required to probe deep to find out the motivation force behind this physical expression of the inner power. Even rogues, terrorists, sadists and immoral persons are found exercising their authority with impunity. With the help of their evil influence, they create terror and make people perform just and unjust acts according to the former's needs. Who would then appreciate such physical strength of man? The same is true about the power of mind and money. Their misutilization too brings self-reproach and problems for others. Art too has often been used for evil designs. Animal instincts of physical exhibitionism, uncontrolled sex and immorality have often been encouraged by music, art and literature. Under the circumstances, who would appreciate such art forms which attract and influence many and are also remunerative, but create such evil influence on the society? One only wishes that had such renowned artists remained in anonymity, the world would have been better. At least then humanity could have escaped the evil effects of their misdeeds. An achievement is not an end in itself. It must be assessed whether the achievement has done anything for human welfare. This can be the only yardstick for appreciating one's strength. Otherwise, in what way snakes, scorpions and tigers could be considered inferior to man? What will then be the necessity to fear and escape from them? Only that power and efficiency deserves appreciation which is utilized for a fruitful objective. Otherwise, these attributes remain merely as beautiful horns of an antler which are good to look at but are of no practical use.